Welcome back to the Otherside podcast. I'm Geshe.
And I'm Leon.
Just before we start the episode, have to do a little disclaimer. We are not medical professionals. We're not doctors. We cannot give you advice. Always do your own research. Enjoy the episode, guys. Right, we are back for another episode of our Otherside podcast. We have another guest with us, but this time it's a bit of a change around because we're the guests. We're at the Vape Bunker. We're at Vapefiend HQ. I am with, can you introduce yourselves?
I'm George from Vapefiend.
Andreas from Vapefiend.
Welcome. It's a nice little change up from what we're used to as well. Like, these guys don't sell CBD directly, but they sell things that are really, really useful for people who need cannabis, especially medically.
Whether you consume one type of cannabis or you consume medical cannabis or you're into your CBD products, these guys have loads of products available on their website. By the way, check out their website, check out their page on Instagram. They've got a really good Discord channel as well. If you guys want to just tell all the kind of like social names what you go by.
Yeah, so the website vapefiend.co.uk. We're on Instagram, Vapefiend. YouTube is George Vapefiend.
They'll be able to find our Discord on our Instagram.
Yeah, the Discord link is up there. So yeah, come and see us. Any questions you got about vapes, hit us up. You can pick up the phone and speak to us on the phone. We're always here. We know what we're talking about, and we're happy to help. And it's great to have you guys here.
Thank you
Thanks
very much for
coming
having
down.
us. I really appreciate it.
But we were getting into some quite nice conversation downstairs about the NHS and recognising cannabis and not recognising it at the same time, and
Heartedly recognizing it, saying it doesn't do anything yet, saying that if you need it, we can give it to you, but they don't actually give it to anybody. And
Yeah.
like as you're discussing, it's really quite hard to get hold of. Once you're logged in with it, then it's easy to like you can order it online. But it is all via private, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, so far in the UK, it's only private clinics that are prescribing cannabis. It's still a major step. And the nice thing is these clinics, they're not like, the classic private healthcare providers like Bupa and stuff that will charge you absolute fortunes to have a healthcare plan. These are clinics especially set up for cannabis patients, and they're all competing with each other, so it's bringing the prices down. But yeah, obviously, ultimate goal is to get it on the NHS so that you can go to your normal GP, get your cannabis. I mean, the stupid thing is, it would actually save the NHS a huge amount of money, because you could get rid of a bunch of pharmaceutical medications and have a load of illnesses treated by cannabis that could be grown by the NHS here in the UK for pennies. Like, it's one of the cheapest medications to make. There's no patents. There's no...
It's crazy, isn't it? It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
well, the plant itself is not illegal. It's it's just
You
the
need the
cultivation
license
of
to
it,
grow
or
it,
it's like, but the actual plant itself, it's like the plant isn't like, you don't see a cannabis plant like you're going to jail, mate.
Yeah. It's still a complicated process, and it's costly, I think, for companies that are trying to move into that. And Britain is one of the biggest exporters of medical cannabis.
20 years ago, it was the biggest.
Right.
I mean, I think it's probably gone down a little bit now, but
it's
the amount
kind of crazy to think we produce
and we can't use
tons and tons of cannabis, and it's still not available on the NHS over here, and it's not legal for recreational
It's not like
use.
they're just sending it over to Amsterdam for the coffee shops or something.
No.
The cannabis grown here is directly sold as medical cannabis for medical products. So the thing that we're not allowed to use it as a medicine here, yet we profit off it being a medicine elsewhere is, well, not us profit, the people running the companies profit.
But it's a bit of a weird one. Like, I don't get it really. I don't see where it's going as well. I mean,
No, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I thought things were getting better, but there's no sign of the current government doing anything close to legalization. There's no sign of the opposition doing anything about legalization. They're not interested. They'd rather, arrest people for nitrous oxide canisters and put police outside the tube stations with sniffer dogs.
You were telling us a little while ago about a story with the sniffer dogs, isn't it? Literally the same sort of thing. It's like, really, they're putting money into sniffer dogs when you're catching 10 people with a bit of bud on them.
Yeah.
Like, how is that going to change anything in the long run? But
Like once a week, Andreas goes home and he encounters sniffer dogs at the tube station. And it's just because it's an easy way to get a bunch of arrests, cheap and quick for the police to get the numbers up.
Get the numbers up.
It's crazy.
Oh, we've arrested this many people for cannabis this year.
Yeah.
All right, mate.
Exactly.
Well, they haven't changed anything. They haven't done anything about it. It's just that bad. Nothing's changed.
If anything, the more arrests prove how many people are using it illegally when they shouldn't have to be running and dodging the police over a plant.
If you are using it medically, I mean, especially if you've got an actual issue that you're trying to solve or cure with it.
Which I think most people are, even if they're not aware of it themselves. You're drawn to cannabis for some reason, whether it's a medical need, a mental health need. You know, there's something that attracts you to it, and that there's only certain people who are drawn to use cannabis regularly. And why is that? Is it just because they like the feeling of it, or is it because there's something about their chemistry
that balances?
Fits? Have they got an endocannabinoid deficiency of some sort? Have they got a pain that they're just subconsciously treating? Have they got a mental health issue that somehow it's helping?
I think a lot of it is the same reason why people drink. Lowers your inhibitions. It makes you feel more relaxed. You can be more yourself around your friends or your family.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of the reason why people drink, but that's totally legal.
And it's a lot less harmful than alcohol.
We were having this conversation in the shop last night, actually, after work was kind of finished, and we like shut the doors and no customers, all having a little chit chat and just like kind of being real humans to each other again, not just at work. And we were all saying like how, well, we have a new girl who works on the other side, on the tattoo piercing side, and she was saying that she sometimes feels a little bit like maybe she's a bit over the top or ADHD or blah, 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 but the consumption of cannabis really helps balance that out, and she can't really put her finger on why. And then kind of like one by one, everyone in the shop was kind of like giving almost the exact same story. It's almost like it's a group of people who have kind of like congregated together now and work together all based on the same idea of like, I don't really know why, but it really helps me out.
Yeah.
Like, it really helps me out.
Suffer from anxiety in some form, and maybe it's never been recognized as. Like, I've never really thought I'm an anxious person, but a few years ago I was like, maybe I do have some sort of anxiety. I didn't really even recognize it or notice it, but I think the smoking or the consumption of cannabis definitely helps us.
Stuff like concentration as well. Like, this is the thing we're saying. I like a lot of the people at our shop are all like, I don't want to like put labels on it or anything, but that kind of like attention deficit type thing, like can't focus on anything or focusing on everything at once. And do you know what? Cannabis for a lot of those types of people as well really helps slow those thoughts down and like put you in a position where you can focus on one thing, or you can like just get your task done. And obviously there's abuse and you can take it too far and just become lazy. But in the right doses that suit you, it's like, it's almost makes it what before is like ADHD or ADD. It's got these labels and extra time.
And legalized fully, we would be able to know what cannabinoids are in that present, what terpenes are present. So you could work out what works for you. That's going to make me focus on something, whereas that kind of strain is going to make me feel too highbrow. It's going to make me feel worse, actually. So it's like, that's the reason why we need to regulate it in that sense.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Because since we've had legalization in certain parts of the world, like obviously in the United States, that's the main driving country behind the cannabis industry. Since that happened, we've had way more science. So now we understand terpenes, which we didn't understand before. We understand that maybe it's not as clear cut as indicas and sativas. Maybe there's more to it. We understand things like CBD, CBN, CBG, all these different cannabinoids, 421 cannabinoids or something there are in cannabis, and they all have a different role to play. And certainly in the years that I've been using cannabis, the last 20 odd years, and the years that I've been here running Vapefiend and involved in the cannabis scene, with the medical scene, the activism scene, like, you learn more. And I understand now that, you know, if I'm feeling anxious, then maybe certain strains aren't going to be a good thing for me, but if I have some CBD, then it'll exactly. Whereas back in the day when I was a teenager, you didn't understand any of that. You'd maybe be feeling anxious and you'd maybe smoke a joint, and maybe it'd be the wrong thing and it'd make you even more stressed out.
Get the mind going, like overthinking.
Exactly. So, you know, this knowledge has only come about because of legalization.
Of course.
And it's only countries like the UK and these draconian regimes that are holding back the planet, holding back people's development and understanding of their own condition.
Makes me pissed off. Obviously, they're doing it generally for vested interests because they've got money embedded in certain industries that cannabis will disrupt that.
Totally, yeah.
So they're not going to move or budge because of the money side of it.
Yeah.
Which is just so sad because it just all comes down to money at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I also feel like this is one of the pushes behind stuff like Brexit as well, because for the last few years, it really has become quite obvious that Europe is moving towards that direction, and like especially now more than ever. And there's a little part of me that thinks like maybe part of Brexit was also to get away from having to be in line with the EU stuff when this sort of stuff happens, because of the investments that our politicians have.
Definitely, it all comes down to money at the end of the day.
They've had a mafia. They've had the dominance on the British medical cannabis game for the last 5 years, and I'm sure they don't want to give that up because they're making a nice bit of money off that.
Yeah,
and joining Europe would have changed things somewhat. So.
Definitely.
And they wouldn't have been able to make the rules themselves. Like if they do choose to legalize cannabis now, at least they're in full control of how it happens.
Well, it's one of these things where they've whipped it up into a frenzy through decades of like false reporting in the media. It's very similar to the situation with immigration that we've got in this country. They whip up a sort of frenzy.
Well, they need a boogeyman
through the press. And then that boogeyman almost becomes the thing that controls them, because now they couldn't really legalize it if they wanted to.
Go back on it.
It's terrible.
But talking about that kind of stuff, like the hypocrisies within government and laws and Europe and stuff like that, even on a ground level, running a business, i.e. yourselves, like Vapefiend, selling vaporizers, what hardships have you come up about? Because we've had loads dealing with CBD, and I know it's quite similar for vape companies and vaping stuff, especially herbal vaporizers.
Yeah, it's been tough. I mean, it continues. You're constantly just having to roll with the punches and shift and change. And we're in a lucky position that we've been here for a lot of years. We've got some great relationships with our suppliers, and we've got a really good customer base and a good reputation in the industry. And we've also got some money in the bank that we can afford to pay for lawyers who will help us navigate this kind of stuff, which is absolutely crucial. And I hate to think, like, if I was where I was back in 2008, just me in my spare room, like selling vapes online, like how easy it used to be. There was no question about, you know, what countries can you sell to? There was no question about what payment provider can you use. We were just on PayPal for everything. Every payment went through. There was no hassle.
When I started, PayPal was like a no, don't even look at them. Because,
it became like that for us, and it's got harder and harder. And there's different payment processors who won't allow certain products, and you know,
we're constantly having to dance around that as well. It's like, and it's about also that, like, some products will fit the bill, and then in my eyes, like almost an identical product just in a different form.
Yeah,
that's not okay because of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, even it's like even trying to be intuitive about it doesn't work, and like trying to cover all your bases, because until someone comes and tells you no, you actually don't know. There's no, like, you don't get a set of rules. You don't get, like, you can't look on the government website and find exactly.
Look, there's like now there's websites and forums that people have posted, like how to set up a CBD company online and what to do, and you need to go and get this high risk merchant account and all this kind of stuff. When I started, I was like, I literally spent money on a website and then realized that wouldn't link up to any of the payment providers that I needed to use, which means I just spent $5,000 on a website that just went down the drain. It was a WordPress one. And then we set the next website up on Wix. And then again, it was the same situation. It was like, shit, it was like super naive, but there was no like documentation about it. No one can tell you what to do. So you have to just kind of like make them trial and error and work it out.
Yeah, because these companies, they don't really want to hear from a small company. They're not there to sort of walk you through it.
No.
I mean, once you've pushed through, you know, hundreds of thousands of pounds of transactions on their platform, then they'll be like, oh, actually, maybe if you just speak to a lawyer who can do this document for you, then maybe we'll allow it. But you don't get that option if you're a small guy just setting up.
No.
It's getting harder and harder, I think, for small companies. And it is tough. Like, We were one of the first companies selling CBD flower in the UK. This is before there were even different strains of it. We used to call it organic vaping herb. It came from Switzerland. It was all straggly. It had loads of like picked seeds in it and stalks.
I think we had some of this, a little bit just after you guys, and it was like, it looked really bad. I think the first one we ever had was they said it was Blue Dream, but
you know what? The first one I saw was pretty much the same thing as that. I think it was called like X35, but they called it smoking blend or smoking herb.
Right.
And then and that's how I actually got into CBD. I then started a flower company selling just purely flower.
Right. Wow.
And we had like all the Harlequins and like approved strains from Switzerland. And then we realized that you could actually get it from America. And then, like, we were getting it from there for ages, and we were getting all these crazy strains, and they were, like, well within the limits, but amazing flavors, like purple buzz. Like, and if you were a cannabis smoker who was trying to not smoke cannabis, but still wanted to smoke cannabis sort of thing, it was, like, the ideal thing.
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of people were smoking it and being like, I actually prefer this to, like, my other stuff.
A lot of older people were like, this is amazing, man. I don't want to get like stoned out of my nut every day.
Yeah.
CBD flowers, perfect. I mean, when I first met you, we had jars on the shelf.
Yeah.
Like waiting for us, literally trying to create like a dispensary style, but unfortunately that disappeared after like 10 years.
We had such nice flowers that like kind of ended up meeting Geshe just through, he found us on Instagram or something like that, and then ended up meeting him like that and bringing through some flowers, and then he was selling them at the shop alongside like some of the other flowers they were doing already, and like it was just a really lovely relationship and a lovely like thing like that. And then when then lockdown happened, and obviously we weren't allowed to import anything, especially organic, from Europe.
Right.
All the borders were closed.
Right.
And then we had all these people wanting orders, but we had no stock to give them, and we had no way of getting stock. And then it just like, that was my only job at the time. So we ended up kind of being like, we need to get some money, like, because I need to pay myself something. And if the business was still new, so we didn't have like enough, and we weren't getting relief from the government, from COVID relief and stuff like that. We didn't get any of that because we had only been around for like 8 months or something.
Right.
So we didn't qualify we couldn't claim anything. You had to have like 3 years of history. And so ended up kind of moving away from that. And just by chance, Geshe needed someone to come and help at the shop for a bit. So I was like, right, I'm going to stay in CBD. I'm going to do a little bit of work in the shop and then get back to my company as soon as things are going again. But then, things just kind of
like
fizzled out.
Since Brexit happened, they've actually now not following EU laws. It's just kind of like they blocked everything at customs. It's been a lot harder to get hold of it. We were losing money.
Yeah, I mean, we stopped stocking CBD products before all that because we were having issues with payment processors, basically.
It's weird, right? You go to Holland & Barrett and they're completely fine. They're using, I see that, I went in to investigate. I was like, how are they doing it? And they use WellPay.
Right.
And like WellPay was like, no, you can't sell CBD. Are you crazy? You can't even sell a vape. When I asked them.
Yeah.
But
Holland & Barrett are probably able to get their law firm to write up a legal opinion that says what we're saying is legal.
I think even if they're like card payment providers taking 1%, let's say, of Holland & Barrett across as a whole, that's enough money for them to turn a blind eye.
It's worth it for them. Yeah, it's
otherwise
worth
with us, if something, they don't know us, we're like high risk.
Exactly.
Like, we could just be any Tom, Dick and Harry who are actually drug dealers. And so the risk there is massive. Otherwise, a Holland & Barrett, they kind of know it's not going to be.
Where do you see Vapefiend going? What's your kind of route? Are you just going to carry on? Doing the vapes and just every new vape that comes out, stock it? Or...
That's it. I mean, it's always been driven by our customers and our team and what we are interested in. And we were an evolving team, like new people join over the years. Andreas is our newest recruit here at Vapefiend. So he brings his knowledge from what's going on in the scene. I'm kind of a bit out of it these days. I'm in my 40s. I don't know what young people are interested in.
Me and you alike, mate.
Yeah, Andreas he's involved in like Discord. He's on, the forums. He's on Reddit. He knows what's going on. So he'll come to me and say, have you heard about this new vape? customers are asking about this, and that keeps us in touch. That's where
You guys are quite big on Discord, though, aren't it? I remember you guys had a big channel on there.
yeah, that's totally Andreas' department. Always answering questions from people on Discord, and
I think you even created a channel for us on your channel.
right, that's right. Yeah.
If people were asking about
it's on there. Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And do you just use it as like Discord is like for more for bloggy purposes, or is it like
just a community
forum, or
for
yeah?
it's a. Well, you tell what.
A lot of different vaporizers. So specifically, like, I've got different vapes, and then people ask, like, what can we do with it? Like, just tips and tricks, that kind of.
And it's grown into a real community where our sort of hardest core, like customers and followers and supporters, just constantly discussing products that they'd like to see us carry, products that you know, they bought from us that they've got questions about, you know, even just ideas about products that haven't come out.
Discord is the bridge between the customer and the
for us. It's kind of like how we use our Instagram in a way. And it's not such a forum kind of. It's not such a text-heavy thing. It's more obviously pictures and people like, asking us questions like on the DMs. But that's kind of our connection to our customers. And you guys use it in the same sort of.
Discord, I guess, is quite cool as well because you can just put up blocks of text about a device if you wanted to, and have it like almost like a blog on that device.
Right. Yeah.
Or you can have it more of an open chat space where it's like, because I know people stream on Discord as well. Like my friend used to do it he used to do a gaming for like a gaming company, but he would do like a weekly podcast about stuff non-related to the company, but he'd just be playing the game the whole time on Discord, and like the whole time people are just there chatting, and it's like chatting between themselves, chatting to you, and like, and you can talk to them back, and it's like, it's quite a nice platform, I think.
It's nice to see that there's people that are so keen about it.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about our industry as well, because we have people all the time that come in that like, I mean, as much as we like to like kind of say we're experts or whatever, we like to, people always come in with new stuff and they're like, did you hear about this? Or like, I read the study about that. Yeah. And it always gives us food for thought. We're like, okay, we're going to go research that, or we're going to look into this now. And it's like, I love that we can be, and we can be humble as well, because as much as we do this all day, every day, so we probably know more than the average person, there's also tons of people out there who might just know more about one specific thing. And it's like, for us to be better, we've got to listen to
absolutely else. It's all about listening. That's why I love it. I still answer the phones like pretty much every day, take calls from customers who just ask questions or recommend things or tell me something. Like, I can sometimes look at sales figures of what products are selling and what's not selling, and I'll think, oh, maybe we don't need to restock the whip adapter for the Mighty because it's not that popular. And then I'll get a call from a guy who says, I'm a medical user, I can't use the glass water adapter for whatever reason. The whip adapter for me is something that wasn't available otherwise, and it fits that need. And I'm like, okay, so maybe it's not a big money maker, but there's a reason for us to stock
Someone needs it.
That's what's important, I think, keeping in touch with the people who are using our products.
But how do you manage like overstocking too many things as well? Because you get to a point where it's like, you can't obviously stock everything.
It's hard.
And you have to manage that. Okay, that's not selling, like you say, we're going to have to drop that one. And
it's always a gamble, because there's always going to be times when you invest heavily in a product and it turns out it
doesn't sell very well.
It's not a seller. But the great thing is now, like the technology we've got now, it's so much better than it was when I started, where I can actually see, you know, a projection of what we're going to sell of each product over the next 3 months or the next 6 months. And so I can base my ordering on that. So that really helps a lot. You know, obviously there's still, it's a changing thing. Something will come out that suddenly means, you know, the Puffco Proxy doesn't sell anymore because there's this thing that's better, that's cheaper, that's whatever. That kind of thing happens all the time. But at least you're not, you know, you're a little bit more in touch with these waves of popularity.
Kind of hard to keep up with though, isn't it? There's so much going on, like even just on the smoking paraphernalia side, that we sell CBD obviously, but we also sell a lot of smoking stuff, like new Rizzlers, new equipment, new gadgets,
and vaporizers and stuff.
I mean, we haven't got enough space, unfortunately, to stock a huge range, but yeah, things are always evolving and changing, which is and
that's why I think it's really important to maybe I'm not as clued up on the very latest developments as I was 10 years ago, But that's why we've got a team of people like Andreas and Dylan downstairs, and everybody else is involved, who have all got their little areas of expertise that they can feed back into the company, and they're not just like rank and file employees working in a warehouse. It's a real team where everybody contributes to this business and this little ecosystem we've got, so that it's not a faceless, like, sort of Amazon type company.
That's really important for us, is to be not customer facing, like random company, customer facing, of course, and not just to be a random website on the internet.
Yeah,
there's hundreds of websites selling CBD, but no one knows who's that website or who the person that runs it, which is partly why we do podcasts and stuff, for people to get to know us, familiarize themselves with us, and be a bit more human about it. You know what I mean? Talk about it like this, kind of off the cuff.
Exactly.
Normally we ask people, what's your process for rolling a joint? How are you guys smoking? How are you guys consuming your cannabinoids?
No, we don't smoke here.
Yeah, no smoking going on here. We are a smoke-free zone, both of us actually. Just vaping and dabbing.
I love dabbing so much, so I dab a lot. I dab a lot.
You stole my Puffco Peak Pro. That was one of the first things you took home with you from here. I haven't seen it since.
So you get it back, I feel.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
For me, it's just strictly vaping and dabbing for me. A little bit of edibles as well on the side. You've got to mix them in, but that's more of a sort of a weekend treat.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I'm vaping. My main go-to vape that I'm using daily at home is the Tasse Bowl, which is a really kind of bizarre vape that most people don't even know about. If they do, they know it because it's the vape with a built-in cup. It's a strange...
I saw you did a video on this, didn't you? Yeah, I saw the video on this.
I love it. A lot of people hate it. It's a real controversial device, but I just love the flavor profile and the smoothness of the hit. It suits me perfectly, but it's not for everyone. And then dabbing, I've got a strange favorite as well. I don't use a Puffco Peak or any of that stuff. I don't use a blowtorch. I use a Vape Exhale Cloud Evo because it's hot air dabbing. You've got these little glass tubes that you put a little bit of concentrate in, and the hot air going over it evaporates the concentrate.
Wow.
And for me,
that's nice.
It is just beautiful. You get this incredible flavor from it. You get this lovely hit. Like tiny amount of concentrate gives you this incredible dab, and it just works for me. So I've come to this strange little combination of devices.
Is that more of a gradual build up for temperature then, or is that like?
Yeah, it can be either. You can do a sort of cold start and then slowly increase, or you can almost do a kind of flash heat.
I'd be well interested to try that, because like obviously with terpenes the boiling points are like completely different.
So often the terpenes have gone before you're even getting
you don't even taste it when you get it.
That's right, exactly.
So I would be really interested to...
What about carts? Are you into carts and stuff like that? Little carts?
I'm not, to be honest. How about you?
Personally, I get like a lot of disposables, but like not UK ones, because I'm not sure where they can come from, so I source my own, if I can say that much.
I love the portability, like just use it anywhere. That's what I like about having a cartridge.
I don't know if we're talking about carts and not 510 carts. Like, where are we throwing them batteries though? Like, where are they going?
Yeah, that is an issue.
You know what? Like, if you're talking about a disposable unit that the whole thing goes, I'm not into them at all. I prefer having a separate battery and a cartridge that you screw.
Absolutely.
But again, with cartridge, you have to throw away.
You hold the battery at least, and even if you're throwing away a cart, it's like a lot of the time it's ceramic or glass or stuff, which is annoying. But for me, that's a way better than throwing away ceramic glass and a lithium battery.
Those elf bars and all that, it's an ecological disaster.
Yeah.
You see them on the streets all over London. Like, what is going on?
But that's why they're doing the elf bars with the pod system and stuff now, aren't they?
Yeah, I've seen that.
So I think someone must be stepping in somewhere, because it is actually it is ridiculous. Last year, David Attenborough brought out some mad documentary that everyone cried over about the environment and stuff. And then the year later, they're bringing out these little lung lollipops, which are like super sweet and terrible for you, and even worse for everything around.
Do you guys sell elf bars in the shop?
No, we don't sell nicotine.
Yeah.
We don't have any nicotine products. We do sometimes we do have backwards or some kind of like a cigar rack.
Yeah.
But obviously it's not just like a cigar.
Yeah.
And
and we don't like those. We don't really like if we have a vape which CBD. We hate if it's got like PG or VG. We've had it a couple times where we've had some vapes like tried them out, but we're always a bit like feel really guilty when we do it. We're like, yeah. I guess the other question from this round as well is munchies. Well, if you're at home by yourself and you're not to do anything, what are you eating?
Oh man, I can get dangerously deep in a munchie binge if I've had edibles. I've got to say, it can get very, very, very nasty. Like I can be like scooping out Tara Masalata with Doritos and all that kind of crazy. Yeah, it's just insane. Yeah. I mean, that's
what's your staple? What's your go-to?
My staple. There's these things called fudgy bites. They're made by the Fabulous Free From Company. It's like a
I know
vegan
them.
chocolate company.
Yeah.
And there's these little bits of fudge wrapped in chocolate. Oh my God, I buy like boxes of 12 bags of these on Amazon, and I could just inhale a bag of these fudgy bites. They're just absolutely amazing. Yeah.
And what you saying?
For me, I usually in my fridge I'm like unlocking the penguins, so I'll grab like a 4-pack of Kinder Penguins.
Nice.
What about you guys?
I'm all about the crunch. I like from granola bars to crisps, but things like crunching them out.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, I mean, last night, to be honest, I was in the peanut butter jar and a bit of jam and a bit of peanut butter and like straight out off a spoon.
Oh yeah. I've been there.
No, if I'm too far gone, I will end up like starting to cook myself some food, and literally every single spice and ingredient available, they're all just going in the same pot. Like I remember one time we made baked beans, and like you think that's a simple task, yeah. And I literally had, by the end of it, it was like a Michelin star meal. Like there was like,
That's what you thought.
well, in my head, and then I looked at it, and it's just this pile of gloop, like on this soggy piece of toast, and it just wasn't even that nice, but still eating.
Had to be done.
Well, we just come down the stairs at Vapefiend.
Vapefiend's warehouse.
Good to have you guys here. Yeah, here we are in the epicenter of Vapefiend. Our man Dylan in charge of packing all the orders over here, where the magic happens.
There's a lot of stuff in there, lots of variants, and lots of different Yeah, a bunch of variants. I would say the coolest thing in the warehouse is the bin wall.
This is the famous bin wall, yeah. So, you know, we're up and down these ladders multiple times a day, getting things like Dynavap slim stashes and you know, grinders. We got every sort of vape equipment you could imagine.
What's your favourite grinder?
My favourite grinder is the puck grinder. It's actually this one here because it's threadless. I don't want to open this one out and break the seal.
Like grooves.
Yeah, it's kind of, it just clips together. It's magnetized, obviously, like most are, but there's no threads to get all gummed up with your resins. And it's really easy to use. It's not too expensive either. I love that grinder. Love this product. It's just fantastic because it brings you that heat on demand technology that usually costs a premium, but it's at an entry level price with swappable battery and, you know, session mode. And
Session mode's cool.
it's fantastic.
Session mode's cool.
I just love this product. I'm not such a fan of the name X-Max V3 Pro. I wish they'd come up with a cooler name. Storm Vaporizer pen. Still a top seller for us. You know, it's kind of an old design, but people still love it.
My dad had one. My dad used one for years.
Yes, again, it's the same factory that makes the X-Max. They're solidly built. They last, you know, because you can swap the battery. It's not dead after a year. You can just put a new battery in it.
Like throughout the years, what's been your best vape then? Maybe high end or low end.
Man, I mean, it's hard.
So many, isn't it?
There are so many, and they're coming out all the time. It's hard to pick one. I mean, the Volcano is definitely the one that converted me to vaping.
A lot of people, that's the one that kind of proliferated the market. Everyone got to know vaping through that company.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bit cool.
Because I'd had a couple of vapes before that didn't quite do it. With the Volcano, I was like, okay, with this, I can give up smoking. Like, it is that good that I can just... And then when portable vapes started coming out and they started to get good, like I remember the Oriza Solo.
I remember the
original Solo, like, which we still sell loads of Solo 2s and the other models that they make, but that original Solo, to get that kind of power in a portable device that you could fit in your pocket, is kind of bulky, but you can actually carry it around with you. And that was like, this is like a step up. Yeah, because that meant that I could vape everywhere. I didn't ever have to smoke. And I never looked back from that point on. So those two, like Volcano and the Solo, they really hold a special place for me. And then the Vape XL, like Vape XL Cloud Evo was huge for me, because like that actually kind of, that product forced me to take Vapefiend full time, because just through making connections with the guy who founded the company, he turned around and said, we're going to give you the exclusive distributorship for Europe, the Middle East and Africa. And this is when I was selling vapes out of my spare room part-time while I was doing 2 other jobs. And I was like, okay, I've got to take this full-time. I've got to get premises. I've got to be ready for when this shipment comes. This is all the orders ready to be packed up.
Nice to see
They've
that
all
it's
been
busy.
picked and ready to go. Someone's getting themselves a Puffco Peak Pro Guardian. Pretty nice to set up with the 3D chamber in there. Fancy little bubbler, nice colorway.
Does the Guardian come with the 3D chamber already?
Yeah, that's the major selling point for me, because I was like, oh, I'm not so fussed about these different colors of Puffcos. But when you get the 3D chamber, that's like 80, 90 quid otherwise.
I wouldn't get a Puffco without a 3D chamber.
I agree.
Having used one.
I agree. And Puffco, I mean, the Peak Pro is just the gold standard of dab devices, I think, you know.
I'm annoyed. I bought a Peak just before the Pro came out. I didn't realize the Pro was coming out, and I would spend money on the normal.
They
Peak.
really stepped out.
Yeah,
I love the Proxy
really nice,
as well. The new Proxy is great for a smaller device. For me, that's probably perfect, but I don't think anything's even come close to the Peak Pro yet. The only downside to the Proxy is the chamber's a little bit smaller, but that kind of works for me because I only do small dabs. I like little dabs.
Little bits, yeah.
But yeah.
I remember you from the old videos.
Yeah.
Like super long. Vapes coming out for miles. So kind of changed the wave a little bit.
A little bit now, yeah. My intake has gone down a bit. I'm more of an evening vapor now. Do a lot fewer dabs than I used to. I feel like I need it less, you know? Like, it kind of, for me, it's more about keeping it as a treat, something that you really enjoy, rather than a habit that you just get into, you know, because then you're not even noticing any effects or anything. It's just routine. It's
You're
like
doing
brushing
it because
your
you
teeth.
have to.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like, you know, it's just part of your day.
Did you used to smoke?
Very, very long time. It's been like 20 years now since I've smoked. So, I did smoke in my sort of teenage years and early 20s, but I've always had lung problems. I've got asthma and I've got another lung condition, which means that smoking is really not good for me. And vaping is like actually really good for me because it helps keep my lungs clear. It keeps my breathing good.
Because of that lung issue, yeah, so why you started up Vapefiend.
Yeah, it's definitely a big part of it. Yeah, one of the major drivers. It's the reason I got into vaping in the first place. I was like, there's got to be a way to get these cannabinoids in me without smoking them and inhaling the smoke.
And you're not the only one out there.
Yeah.
So it's about making it accessible.
Yeah, exactly. And there wasn't really any shops, anything like Vapefiend in the UK when I set up Vapefiend.
How long have you guys been going for, first off?
I started Vapefiend in 2008. So yeah, and I was selling Volcanoes before that for a couple of years on my podcast website. This would have been 2005. I started doing a podcast, dopefiend.co.uk. The website's still up, still podcasts on there. But yeah, I did a podcast every week for years. And through that whole period, I sort of discovered vaping, transitioned from smoking into vaping, and I was doing it all on the podcast. And people,
all on your own?
Yeah.
And everything?
Editing, everything, the whole thing. And people started writing in and saying, you know, this vaping sounds great. What can you recommend? And so I started recommending Volcanoes and then started getting commissions on every Volcano I sold.
And now you're the vape god.
Just saved up every little bit of money that I made from that and slowly made enough to start buying like boxes of vapes myself. And then it was a slow process. I didn't take any investment. I wasn't rich. I didn't get any like, cash handouts from anybody. I just slowly built it up to the point where I could hire a couple of people, get a little office behind the post office in West Norwood, and then a warehouse over here. So we got some of our medical, we've got a medical platform you might not know, but Vape Dispensary is our medical website. So we stock the medically approved vapes, which is the Mighty Plus Medic.
That's approved by NHS?
Yeah, exactly. Approved by the MHRA, the Medicines Healthcare Regulation Authority. That means that if you're a patient and you've got a prescription, you can get VAT relief on that. So you get 20% off. You just have to fill in a little form on our medical website.
So I've just seen that. Is there a special line just for this?
Exactly. It's especially medically approved vape. It's considered a medical device in the UK, Europe, United States, Volcano Medic here as well. So it's just, everything's medical grade. You see there, that one's got a hygienic mouthpiece and tip. Everything has to be super hygienic when it's a medical device, because you could get, bacteria growing on your mouthpiece and stuff. So there has to be disposable mouthpiece covers that you can throw away and reuse. But the good thing is, if you've got a prescription and you've got a medical device, then say you've got to go to the clinic or the hospital, you can actually use your vape in the hospital at your bed. You don't have to go to the smoking area. That is your medical device. You're allowed to. It's the same as an inhaler or a nebulizer, anything like that.
It's amazing.
It's really grown in the last year since there's been a massive explosion of private cannabis clinics in the UK. They're all competing with each other, which is great for the patients because it's driving the prices down.
Have you got a prescription?
Yeah, I have got a prescription. Yeah, I've got it for back pain. Had it for a couple of years now. It's a lot more expensive when I got mine, but it's come down in price.
It's hard to get.
It's not that difficult. No, I mean, if you've got most people, I think, have got a legitimate medical reason to use medical cannabis. So
100%.
You've got some sort of back pain, anxiety, insomnia, even things like autistic spectrum disorders, things like that. There's so many different things that are suitable for medical cannabis.
You just order online and it comes to
Exactly. Yeah. You every 2 or 3 times a year you have a appointment with a pharmacist just to make sure everything's going okay, and they'll tell you what strains are available and stuff. Gets delivered to your house in a few days.
I know this is a weird question, but is cannabis, like medical cannabis, is that like a tax deductible thing? Like, is that something that, because I know that with certain other medicines, if you've got to pay for it and you're like a self-employed person, then you need to have your medicine to work. So it counts as an expense and stuff like that. Are we at that point yet? Or?
It's an interesting argument. I don't think we're at that point here. I mean, I don't claim any tax back on my medical cannabis.
Rather pay it.
Yeah, I pay it. It's sad that it's private only. You can't get it on the NHS at the moment. So there is a price barrier to a lot of people. But yeah, maybe we'll get there someday.
It's weird that they haven't really put it out there.
It's the NHS is on its knees, as we know. They've got no money to do anything, let alone some clinical trials into cannabis and that kind of stuff. But
they claim it's got no benefit, but on the website it has got benefit, or there's not enough medical background to be able to claim it. But
yeah,
well, it says that there's no medical benefit to cannabis, and then next paragraph is, but if you have these problems, then we'll give you cannabis.
Yeah,
Like, all right.
There's
it's not medicine, but it can do medical
There's
things.
a lot of politics involved, basically, but unfortunately, that's the way this country is.
Hopefully, we're progressing slowly, somewhat.
I know
we feel like we're going backwards at the moment.
A lot of people don't even realise that there's legal medical cannabis in the UK. Like, people don't understand yet.
It's 2018, they don't yet.
A lot of people go and see their NHS GP and ask them about it, and the GP sometimes. I know someone who was having treatment for cancer, and their consultant told them, you can't, if you use cannabis, I'm going to stop prescribing you your other medications, which is just ignorance.
It's stories like this that we're talking to George now about his his consumption and via medical and stuff like that. Hopefully it gets a bit more like accessible.
Yeah, more normalised.
Thanks for the little tour, George.
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure.